Hi, my name is Emily and welcome to Secret Patterns. In today's video, I'm really excited to be sharing my top 7 techniques for joining granny squares. So I'm just going to give you the list of techniques I'll be sharing in this video, and then we'll go ahead and jump in. So the first technique I'll be sharing is the whip stitch technique. It's the most simple, probably, and basic technique, but I'm really excited to be sharing that. Then technique number 2 is whip stitch in the back loop only, and it's amazing how different those two techniques look. Technique number 3 is the mattress stitch, and that is one of my all-time favorite techniques. And then technique number 4 is the mattress stitch in the back loop only, and again, it looks so different, and it is actually what I did for my blanket. I absolutely love how that looks. Technique number 5 is slip stitch to join. So this is where you actually crochet the two squares together. Technique number 6 is single crochet to join. So you can do this in the back loop only or in both loops. I mean, like both loops at the top of your stitches. And I'll show you both ways to do that. And again, it's a really cool way to be able to crochet your squares together if you prefer to not use your darning needle. And then technique number 7 is single crochet from the wrong side. So when you single crochet on the wrong side of your granny squares, it turns out really cool on the front side. So that is again single crochet, so you're crocheting the squares together, and you can do it back loop only or both front and back loops. So those are the 7 techniques I'll go over in this video. And then one thing I want to mention is, in case you ever struggle with how fast or slow I'm talking, you can always adjust the playback speed in the right hand corner of the video. Just click the little settings gear icon, then click playback speed, and then you can adjust it to whatever speed you want or need. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. The first technique I'm going to show you is called the whip stitch join, and what you're going to do is you're going to grab your yarn, and now normally you'd want to use a color that will blend nicely with this. So like I would normally use this blush pink that I have for the edging of both of these squares, but for the sake of this video I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to be using the gold that I used for the center of these squares. So you'll need 4 times the width of your granny square. So what I do is I just lay it down like this, go 1, bring it over, and it's not perfect, but just that's about what I do. 2, 3, and then 4. And now what you're going to do is you're going to put the yarn on your darning needle, and a little tip to put the yarn on is I like to put the yarn over my thumb and push the darning needle onto my nail, and then you can just grab the yarn off there. So that's a little tip for putting the yarn onto your darning needle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to join these two. So what I like to do is I like to hold this one up like this, and then hold this one up like this. So you have the front sides facing out, and then you have the wrong sides together. So you can see that is what it should look like. Now what you're going to do is you're going to insert your darning needle where your edge is. So you can see I did 2 half double crochets, a chain, and 2 more half double crochets into the corner. So what I like to do is I like to start my joining of granny squares right into that top of the chain. So I go under both of those loops for the chain, and we can go like that, pull through. Leave myself a little tail so I can sew that in later. And then I'm going to find the little chain on the other side. So right there, go under both loops like that. So now you can see we have a little right there. So like a little bit of the gold. And what you're going to do now is you're going to come back over the top, and you're going to go into the next stitch. So you can see this was the next stitch, so we just went into here. Now this is the half double crochet, so you're going to go into there, and then you're going to find the same half double crochet on the other side, and you're going to go through there. So go through both of those loops. So 2, you're basically going through 4 loops, and you're just going to pull that through. And you're just going to continue doing this. So now that you have it like that, you're going to go into the next half double crochet in the next top of the stitches and pull through. And you're just going to continue doing that for each stitch, and you'll get faster as you get used to it. And you want to kind of pull so each are even. You don't want them to be too tight, and you don't want them to be too loose. So you can always tighten them a little bit afterward, but you want to make sure that each of your loops look even. And now obviously you'd be using a normal color, so you wouldn't be seeing that. Like, let me show you on here. This is where I joined using exactly this method. So I really like, it's a nice simple join, and you can just kind of do it on repeat. So you're just going to go into the next stitch and the top of the next stitch, and you're just going to keep going, making sure that you're going into the stitches that line up correctly. So that is the first technique. Now the next little technique that I'm going to show you is doing the exact same thing, but this time you're going to go into the back loop only. So let me show you first. Let me finish this square though, and then I'll show you what's next. Okay, so you can see that I just finished working across my square. You're going to go into the top of that chain, and you're going to find the top of the chain on the other side, right there. And you're just going to pull that through, and there you go. You can see that we have this nice little join, and obviously you'd be normally using the right color, so you wouldn't see that at all. Let me show you, like on this square, like that. So it should look like that, and you are officially done with joining your squares. So you can see we have a nice little bit of yarn left over, so you can tie in your tails. So now the next technique that I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to do this exact same thing, but just with the back loop only. So it turns out really, really beautiful. Let me show you on here. So you can see this is what I did right here. So you can see that you have that ridge from both sides because you were working to the back loop only. So these are the front loops of those half double crochets. All right, so now for technique number 2, you're going to use the about the same amount of yarn. So do your square 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you're just going to put it onto your darning needle like I showed before. So you're going to put the yarn over your thumb, and you're going to put the darning needle down onto your nail like that, and grab the yarn onto there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do the whip stitch into the back loop only. So this is really simple, and so yeah, I'm going to grab the first square and then the second square. And what you're going to do is you're going to do the exact same thing we just did for technique number 1, but you're going to be working into the back loop only. So you can see there's 2 half double crochets, chaining 1, and then 2 more half double crochets. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into the back of your corner stitch. So for me, that would be my chain that I like to work into. So you're just going to go into the back loop only. So you can see there's the front loop and then the back loop, and you're just going to go into that back loop only. And then on the other side, you're going to find what will seem like the front loop only because because you're holding it like this with the front sides facing out and the back sides squished together. So you're going to find the back loop over there like that. So if you flip to the side, it will be the back loop only, but from here it looks like it's the front loop, if that makes sense, just because when you lay it down, it'll be both the back loops. So there we go. You're going to pull that through, and then you're going to just repeat that. So you're going to come back over, and you're going to insert into the back loop only of the next stitch, and then you're going to insert into what looks like the front loop only of the next stitch, but that's actually the back loop only, if you remember, because if you flip it to this side, it's the back loop. Okay, and you're just going to repeat this all the way down. So you're going to go into the back loop only of the next stitch, and then what looks like the front loop only of the next stitch, but is actually the back loop only. So you're going to continue working on, and you want to have, again, an even tightness. So you don't want to pull them too tight, otherwise it'll kind of bunch together, but you want to pull it nice and evenly tight so that it will just turn out beautiful. So I'm going to finish this square so I can show you what it looks like, and I will meet you back. Alright, so you can see that I just finished technique number 2, and this is how it looks. So I personally love the ridge of working into the back loop only, that working in the back loop only creates, because if you can see, so we have the front loops still, and we just worked into the back loop only of this side and of this side, and so it just looks really nice and even. And I like how it kind of makes separation of from one square to the next square. So it just looks a little bit clean and neat. Let me show you on when they're matching colors so you can see this. Oh, sorry, there we go. This is what it looks like. You can see there's the front loop ridge, and this is the front loop ridge, and then this is where we worked into the back loops only. And then on this side, we did the working into the back loop and front loop only. So that was technique number 1, and this is technique number 2. So you can see that I personally prefer, I think, the working to the back loop only, but it's totally personal preference. So those are the first 2 techniques. So technique number 3 is the mattress stitch, and what we're going to do is you're going to, for this mattress stitch, you're going to work into both loops, and then for technique number 4, you're going to work into the back loop only, and that's back loop only mattress stitch, and that's what I did for my blanket. I worked into the back loop only, and I prefer that over the working into both loops, but working into both loops sometimes is a little bit easier. So I'm going to show you both techniques in case you prefer one or the other. So what you're going to do is you're going to, again, thread your darning needle, and you're going to need the same amount of yarn that we've done for them before. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, just about. And then thread it onto your darning needle using my little tip that I showed you. And now what you're going to do is you're going to put the squares with the wrong sides facing together and the front sides facing out. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through both loops, and you're going to grab that, go under that chain for me, or whatever corner stitch you have. And then what you're going to do is you're going to kind of turn, and you're going to come back through the front 2 loops of your half double crochet. So let me bring that a little closer, and I'll hopefully be able to show you a little bit better. So you're going to insert your darning needle into the top 2 loops of, for me, the chain, and then you're going to kind of turn your darning needle and go through the top 2 loops of the next stitch. And you'll kind of end up with what looks like kind of a weird glob of weirdness, but you'll have gone through the first 2 stitches and then the next 2 stitches on this one granny square. Okay, so you're going to pull that through, and then now you're going to go to the other side. So you're going to do the exact same thing, but this time you're kind of doing it in reverse because you're working on the other side. So you're going to go through the front. Going through the front, you're going to go through this, and then there. So from this side, you're going to go through the chain, the top of the chain, which is right there, and then you're going to go through to the next stitch, like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to keep doing something similar, but what we're going to do is we're always going to be working into the last stitch that you just worked. So we worked into, a little recap, we worked into the chain and then the half double crochet. And so now, and then we did that on the other side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back to this side, and we're going to work through that same half double crochet, the top 2 loops, and then we're going to work through the top 2 loops of the next half double crochet. So like that. You're going to pull through. And then you're going to go to the other side. So you're going to work through that same half double crochet that we worked through. And then you're going to kind of turn and go through that next half double crochet. So hopefully that's making sense. And what's so fun about this stitch is once you do a couple of this, I guess it's not really stitch, sorry, this technique, is once you do a couple of them, you can pull it together and it looks so nice. So let me keep doing this. You're going to go to the next side. So once you work on this side, then you're going to come to the next side and you're going to work through that same, you can see right there is where we just worked through. So we worked on this side, then we went to this side. Now we're going to go back through that half double crochet that we went through already, and then you're going to go to the next half double crochet. And then you're going to keep doing that. So you're going to now go to this side, and you're going to go through like that, and then through to the next stitch. So now I'm just going to keep repeating that. So always through the stitch that you just worked through on that side. And I'm just going to do it a couple times so I can show you the kind of neat way that you can pull it together. So like that. And now that you've done it for several loops, you can see we kind of have it loose. Just pull on both of the ends and it will beautifully tighten. Isn't that nice? So you can't even really see at all where your yellow is. Let me bring it a little closer so you guys can see. You can't even see where your yellow was. And then on the back side, you will be able to not see the yellow either. So you can't, basically the yellow completely hides, which is one of the reasons I absolutely love this, because if you, let's say you run out of this color, you can use it. You can use a different color and it'll still hide. Now, if you're being really particular, you might be able to see a tad bit, but I don't see it at all. You can see that that's just right here because that's where we're going to continue working, so it didn't get pulled as tight. But you can see it looks super nice. And so this, with this way, it kind of leaves a little bit more of a bump in the back, and when you keep working, that's how it ends up looking. Let me show you on one of these granny squares that I completed already. Yeah, here. So this is what it'll look like in the end, and it'll have nice stretch both ways. But on the back, it will have a ridge. So if you don't like the ridge, the next technique, working in the back loop only, will definitely be your favorite. So I'm just going to keep working on this, and then I'll come back and show you how well it works with this yellow, and then I'll show you the next technique working in the back loop only. Okay, so you can see that I'm just finishing up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pull, and this just to me is so fun to watch it like naturally just all go away. So it's, in my opinion, so cool. So now you can't even see at all. And if you ever over pull, so like pull a little bit more and get a little too tight, you can always just kind of pull it sideways a little bit and vertically a little bit, and it will loosen. So it's nice and loose. So isn't that so cool? You can't see the gold at all, other than obviously the tails, and then you can't see the gold at all on this side either. So super cool. It does leave a little bit of a ridge like I had mentioned before. So now on to technique number 4, and that is the back loop only mattress stitch, which is what I did my blanket in. Alright, so for the back loop only mattress stitch, you're basically going to do the same thing, grab the same amount of yarn like we've grabbed before, 4 times one side, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then put the yarn onto your darning needle, and like that. Now what you're going to do is you're going to be working into the back loop only, but you're basically going to be doing the exact same thing. So I'm just going to show you this quickly so that you can, because I kind of showed you how to do it before. So you're going to grab, again, your squares, put the right sides facing out, the wrong sides together. And what you're going to do is you're going to start in the corner. So for me, that's my little chain. So I'm going to insert my needle into the back loop only of that chain. So right here, is the chain. And normally you'd go under both loops, but instead I'm going to go into that back loop only. And then I'm going to turn my needle and go into the back loop only of the next stitch. Like that. Pull through. And then you're going to do that exact same thing on this side. So you're going to go into the back, what will look like the front loop only, but remember you're using your darning needle from this side, so it's like the back loop only of the chain, and then the back loop only of the double crochet, or of the next stitch, and then pull that through. And you're just going to continue doing that down the way. So you're going to now go into the right here where we just went on this side. So through there, and then turn your needle and go through the back loop only of the next stitch. And then you're going to go to the other side. So you're going to go into the back loop only where we just went, and then go into the back loop only of the next stitch. So you're just going to repeat that, working all the way down. So back loop only, back loop only, back loop only, back loop only. And you're just going to repeat that all the way down. And then once you get 5 to 10 stitches, I like to pull it together, and it comes together so beautifully. So you can see that is how it looks. Again, you can't see the gold at all through the front side. Now through the back side, you will see a little bit, little hints of gold right there, but not too bad. So I'm going to finish this so you can see exactly how it works and looks, and then I'll meet you back and we will continue on to technique number 5. Okay, so you can basically see that I just about finished, and now I'm going to do the super satisfying part of pulling them together, and it should pull pretty well. And again, if you ever tighten it too much, you can always just stretch it a little this way, and you can see that I have a little too loose there, so I'm going to pull a little bit more, and there we go. Nice and stretchy both ways. And you don't see any gold through there, which is so cool. So then on this side, you'll see a little bit, a few hints of a little bit of gold, and especially if you fold it like that. So that is technique number 5, and let me show you how it looked on my blanket. So here you can see, I'm going to try to hold my blanket in this little area where I'm filming. Here we go. You can see this is how it turned out on the blanket. Super nice, super stretchy, and when I of course use the same color to join these squares, so you can't see any of the different colors, just like I had mentioned before. So, and again, this blanket video will be coming out in the next few weeks, so make sure you're subscribed. So that is technique number 4. And now we're going to move on to technique number 5, which is slip stitch join. So now on to technique number 5, and this is slip stitch joining, and this is in the back loop only. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to be crocheting. So you're going to need your hook that you use to join these, to make these squares, and for me that is my Clover Moore 5.5mm crochet hook. And then you'll also need about 6 times one side of your square. So if you take your square and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm obviously not doing that super precise, 6. That is how much yarn you'll need. And then you'll grab your hook, and what you're going to do is you're going to have the sides that you want to join together. So right there. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to begin by picking up one of the squares, whatever one you want to pick up first. Now I am left-handed, so I might end up having to make a right-handed version of this little clip, but we'll see. So if you're right-handed, this is obviously just backward. So for left-handers, you're going to insert into the back loop of your corner, and you're going to do that for the right hand too. So back loop of your corner stitch, for me that's my chain, and then you're going to find the back loop only of your next, or on your other side. So you can see there's my 2 half double crochets, then there's my chain. So I'm going to go into the back loop only of that chain. And so basically now we have 2 loops on our hook. You're going to grab your yarn. Now for this one, I think it's kind of fun to use a complementary color because it kind of ends up looking like a cool little border, but you can totally do whatever you want. I'll show you what it looks like with the border done too. So here we go. What you're going to do is you're going to have the yarn, that little short tail, to the back, and your working yarn to the front, and you're just going to yarn over and pull through. And what you're going to do now is you're going to keep working up. So you're going to insert your hook into the back loop of the next stitch. Oh, I missed that. There we go. Into the back loop of the next stitch. And then you're going to find the back loop of the next on the other side, the next stitch on the other side. So there we go. And it'll look like the front loop, but it's still the back loop, because remember, if you look at it from the right side, the correct side, that's the back loop. Okay, and when you're doing that, you'll always want to make sure that your yarn is underneath. So you want to make sure that your working yarn keeps underneath. So insert your hook into there, the first side, and then the second side, always making sure that your yarn is below your hook. So like that. And now you can pick up your yarn, and then you're going to just yarn over, pull through, and pull through, and pull through. Okay, now one thing to note with this is you want to slip stitch very loose, otherwise it will look really tight and not very nice. So you're going to insert into the next back loop of the next stitch, back loop on the other side of the next stitch, keeping your yarn below your hook. So you can see my yarn is back here. That's how it's looking. Then you're going to pick up your yarn, go through both of those loops, and through your gold. So keep your yarn below, and you're just going to repeat this all the way up. So keep your yarn below, and then pull through both of those loops like that. Oh, and that is how it should be looking. So you'll kind of have the gold going up through the middle, and I'm going to keep working like that. So you're just going to go into the back loop of this side, and the what looks like front loop, but it's actually back loop of this side, making sure your yarn is below, and then you're basically just doing a slip stitch. So keep working like this, and I will meet you back and show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so you can see this is how it looks in the end. It looks pretty nice. I like how if you use a different color, it's kind of obvious. Like that's like a border between the two granny squares. Just to note, when I did this 6, I probably would have cut it a little bit longer, because you can see this is all I had left. So I would probably cut your 6 a little bit longer, and if you prefer long tails, which I think most people do, I would just then cut 7 times the one side of your square. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so yeah, that is what technique number 5 looks like. And let's do a close-up real quick. So you can see when you stretch it, it looks nice, and it stretches nicely both ways. So yeah, that is technique number 5. So now for technique number 6, you're going to single crochet in the front to join. So what we're going to do is you're going to need a little bit more yarn than what you used for your slip stitch to join. You're probably going to need, I'm going to guess, around 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We will cut there, and we'll kind of gauge how much we use. So like this. Now what we're going to do is we are going to grab your hook again and use the same hook that you used to make these 2 granny squares. And what we're going to do is we are just going to be crocheting them together. Now again, you could use probably the back loop only or just crochet from the front side. I will show you first crocheting, single crocheting with both loops, and then we will try the back loop only as well. So I'm going to go through the first stitch in my corner, and then the first stitch in my corner on the other side. And now you're just going to grab your gold yarn, name yourself a little tail, and yarn over, pull through. I like to chain one, and then you're going to go ahead and just start single crocheting these together. So single crochet, then you're going to enter into the next stitch, and then find the next stitch on the other side, make a single crochet, find the next stitch on this side and on the other side, make a single crochet, and you're just working your way up the granny square. So making sure to work nice and, I would say loose, just because you don't want it to be too tight that you can't stretch it at all. So I am going to keep working up like this, and I will meet you back in just a little bit and show you what it looks like. Alright, so this is what it looks like in the end, and I would probably recommend again using a little bit more than 10 times your one side of your square. So I would probably do 11 just because I ended again with a really short little tail. But let me show you how it looks. So this is when I worked through both stitches, how it looks. And so you can see it's a little bit more of a raised look, but again, it looks really nice and even. So you can see this is what it looks like from both sides. And then the back side just looks like that. And then you can see from here on, I worked into the back loops only on both sides. And you can see, you can see that little ridge. And I obviously am a person that likes ridges, as you can see, but you can do obviously whatever you prefer. So yeah, it stretches nicely this way and this way. So yeah, that is technique number 6. So the last technique, technique number 7, I'm going to show you how to join with single crochet, but this time in the back. So you're going to need about 11 lengths, so like the 1, 2, about 11 of those to do this join on one side, obviously. So what we're going to do is we are going to flip both of these differently than we normally do. So the front sides will be facing towards each other, and then the wrong sides will be facing out. So now what we're going to do is we are going to, again, you can do this back loop only, or you can do this front and back loop, like use both front and back loop. I'm going to do half of each. So I'm going to first start by doing the both loops. So I'm going to insert my hook into both of the loops in that corner chain, and then insert my hooks into both of the loops in the other corner chain, which is right here. There you go. Now you're going to yarn over and pull this yarn through. I like to chain one, you don't have to chain one. And then you're going to go ahead and start single crocheting up this square. So go into, once you finish that single crochet in that first stitch, then you're going to enter into the next stitch, going through both loops, find the next stitch on the other side, and make a single crochet. And this is super basic. Again, just you know how to make single crochets, I'm sure, at this point. So you're just going to continue doing that. And then when if you want to try doing the back loop only single crochet method, all you're going to do, so you can see that's what that looks like, and then on this side it just looks like that, which is actually quite nice looking, especially if you obviously don't have the gold, or you could do the gold like I'm doing. But then what you can do is you can do the back loop. So then back loop, and then single crochet, back loop, single crochet. So you'd be going into what looks like the front loop here, and then what looks like the back loop here. because remember you have the wrong sides facing you, which is different than what we've done before. So you're going to just finish this up, and I'll show you what it looks like. I didn't quite finish it. There we go. Perfect. So like this, and you can see that you can either go through both of the stitches like we did here, or you can work it like this. And honestly, I feel like this looks a lot like the whip stitch, whether if you're doing the working in the whip stitch of this, so like, sorry, working both loops, it would look like the first technique I showed you, and then this would be like the second technique I showed you. But yeah, I really like that you don't have to use your darning needle, because sometimes it's just funner to crochet than actually do that. Now there is a little bit of a ridge back here, so if you don't like having a ridge, that might be a little bit of a bummer to you. But yeah, so you can see here is the back loop only, here is both loops. Let me bring it a little closer so you can see. I really love having the front loops ridged, like I've mentioned so many times in this video. But yeah, that is technique number 7, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for learning these techniques along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give this video a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That really helps my channel grow and be found by other crocheters just like you. And make sure to also hit the subscribe button, because I'll be sharing the pattern for how to make these beautiful granny squares in the next few weeks, and I'll also be sharing how to block granny squares. So I have a lot of fun granny square videos coming up in the next few weeks, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And if you're watching in the future, make sure to click here on this video, and I'll share all my techniques for how to block your granny squares.